Hi, Lisa.
Hi there, Michael. How are you?
Okay, very under the weather.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's not COVID.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's a cold.
Oh, boy. Well, I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll be better. It keeps clogging my left ear, so like my equilibrium's all off and it's terrible.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Okay, sorry I'm not there with you tonight. I have a cold that is kicking my butt, but it is not COVID.
Yeah, we don't have a quorum.
Oh,
So, I mean, but even if you were here, we still wouldn't have a quorum. So hopefully, I haven't heard from anybody else.
all right. Well, I mean, I can be there in 10 minutes.
No, I just got your text, so you have to, I guess I will make some calls. Thank you for your patience. And, I don't know why I'm sitting with you these days.
All right. Well, while we're waiting, I'll throw sneakers on just in case you need me to come down so we have a quorum.
Okay, I'm gonna
I'll
call
be-
you first.
Okay.
This is the right, I mean, you're here, so I.
Yeah.
Oh,
Popped up on my calendar, popped up on that calendar. Lisa said, get going.
It's on my calendar.
Yeah. I'm ready to go.
All right, well, is this on the us? Let's get the rubber stamp out.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's get out of here.
There's not much in there, right? There's not much.
I tell you, everything, geez, these meetings have been going. I don't ever remember these meetings going. It's fairly close.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I looked, it popped up on the calendar, around noon, a reminder, 6:30, and it said it said 6:30 to 10. I went, 10? He never got 10 o'clock.
Is that when you put on your calendar?
No, what happened was I called Lisa, I said, hey, schedule-wise, they have me for 3 hours. She goes, no, it's the setting, when they schedule the conference room. Okay.
Tomorrow, could be 6:30.
What's that?
What's tomorrow?
City Hall.
That's a bunch of.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's really just the volume
Okay.
that makes it a little long. I mean, they've carved out, what you said, May out of that, so hopefully that shortens a little bit.
I mean, this is the biggest department budget for the city, at least, right? But there's more departments to monitor.
It's just yours is very condensed, you know, it's just a couple pages.
Yeah. Yeah. There he is. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Renee.
Your friend in the fire department wouldn't let me out of my driveway.
Uh-oh.
There's some kind of emergency going on my street. So,
All right, Tony's here, so we're good. Mike, we're good.
Okay.
You take the sneakers off,
Yeah.
or no,
Yeah.
Is Michelle logging in or not even that?
she said she's got a fever. I guess I don't need to tell you that. You won't get it.
All right, thank you.
Andrew, you want me to call you back?
Yeah, thanks. All right.
You said Tony is here?
Yeah, he was just pulling in,
Oh,
so.
these two. This fuel is actually 100,000 in the budget,
okay.
and this one is 10,000 in the budget. Eliminate,
How many
I
weddings
think
did you
so
miss?
much. 10 of these,
Yeah, we're gonna
in our tax.
This is-
This is about top.
I used to do 30 to 35 weddings.
Yeah, so you're doing like two.
Sometimes, yeah. It was a nice revenue, more rostered, but
These numbers changing?
it's a
Yes,
lot.
so that would be at zero.
By the time you get in the house, it's midnight. Listen, it's Sunday, cake on Sunday, you know.
Right.
I know.
I
Your
would
variance
go to
suits.
sleep late and then wake up to do my church day because I definitely don't miss.
Thank you.
We had a good track.
This is Comptroller.
In New York City.
It said, it should be attached to
It was like,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yeah, hey, you all right? I got this. You guys,
Been checking up on you?
I think you want to make sure I was here.
Yeah, I was told from 6:30 to 10.
I know, you're right, but it's the police department budget, so I assume I can cut them loose, we're good, right? Do you have something after?
Yeah, we'll do the comptroller now.
No,
Oh, okay, all right. I'll call you and tell you when to come back, all right? Thank you. It's kind of, I mean, I can call for help. If something happens.
I might heard somebody was climbing out the window.
Got it without any problems. I thought it was gonna be really funny when I cut the lights off and just, you know.
I would have
Would have changed.
Bloody
the-
Okay, police starts on page 86. For those of you who are following at home.
Everybody's scared. Furniture. Right, let everyone know this is minor corrections on our sheet.
Yeah, let's get officially started first.
Oh,
Look at it, fix it, right there.
Oh, yeah, that's, you gotta reglue that chair. The dowels, yeah.
Yeah, can I kick this in?
I think it is.
Sorry, people at home. And when we come to this little budget, we're gonna really figure out why we need new furniture.
I guess it's good city hall is tomorrow. We discuss it, I'll discuss it.
Yeah.
Only if I'm around.
Do you want to sit here?
I didn't know if anybody else is coming. I'm not biting.
No, nobody else is coming, so. You just collapse.
It's bad. I almost as it is. You all right?
Okay, good.
We'll call this meeting of the Finance Committee of the Kingston Common Council to order at 6:38. We are engaged in a special budget meeting to look at the budget of the Kingston Police Department. Page 86 is where it begins. And we also have the variance sheet for those of you in the room. John is going to alert us though to a little switcheroo so that a couple numbers, a couple of zeros decided to kind of play around with the budget here, so they need to be in the right place.
So the printed budget is fine, it's just these variance sheets. On the supplemental pay, that's the fourth item from the top, object number is 5104. Just chop a zero off the 2023 recommended number, that's actually 10,000. And the variance is zero. Sorry for stealing the thunder on the question. And then if you go down to vehicle fuel, 5426 is the object number. You have to add a zero to the recommended number. The 10,000 is 100,000. And the variance is a negative 10,000.
Variance negative 10,000.
Yeah.
And what about the supplemental pay? What was the variance?
Zero.
And we'll note too that the vast majority of the final amount down there, you see that the budget is higher by $1,327,000. The vast amount of that is contractually due to the increase in pay and related increase in benefits. So, Chief, anything you want to bring our attention to?
There's a couple of items, as you mentioned, the bulk of the personnel services is the contractual settlement this year. So that's the majority of the increases. As far as capital equipment, I don't know if you want to go into that, there's a couple of items we're asking for. Or as part of capital planning, top of the page.
So we'll hold on that first.
Okay,
We want to get to the budget here
all right.
in the book. And we'll get to that. Anybody got questions, things you want to bring up? Tony Davis?
Hello, Chief. Thanks for coming in. So regular pay, I see that's an increase, I think, of what, much 800 and just regular. Yeah, $894,000.
Yep.
From looking here, are you hiring more people? It seems like you got a +2. Looks like you're looking for a new clerk, a crime analysis.
No, we're not looking for an additional clerk. We had that this year, the clerk position. We did that here.
Same thing with the crime analysis, right?
Well, no, so for the crime analyst, we are trying to add the position. So with that one, it would begin in the July timeframe. So let me explain how we do it now. We currently have a contract with the John Finn Institute in Albany for a crime analysis services. The crime analyst shows up to our place 2 to 3 days a week. The remaining timeframe, she's usually down at the crime analysis center in Orange County. What we'd like to do is take the grant money and put it towards the salary to have our own crime analyst and no longer have the contract through John Finn. So we would employ her directly. That would now bring her into our place 2 or 3 more days a week. We would still put her down at CAC. There's a tremendous benefit of having a contact down there directly. But then she will be a city employee and no longer a contracted service through John Finn. But we still get money back. I mean, the majority of this, we're looking at a $55,000 salary, of which really we only put about $27,500 into it, into the 2023 budget, because it's only half a year. We would be picking her salary up July 1st until December 31st.
All right.
All right. So,
And then,
but we do get $65,000 for crime analysis from the GIVE grant every year. We're looking to apply that directly to an employee than we are to give it to John Finn for services. And we've had great luck with John Finn, absolutely. There's not, from our perspective, they have delivered year after year after year. They're an awesome organization to deal with. We've been partners for years through GIVE and even before that Impact. But we now find the need to embed a crime analyst in our detective division 8 hours a day.
And
And we
what
only have
does that
7.
point analyst do?
So what we do with her is she tracks all the stats, both internal and external. She partners up with the Crime Analysis Center out of Orange County, the Hudson Valley Crime Analysis Center. She works very closely with Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, Middletown, all the major jurisdictions, sister cities, if you will, and provides data. So when they have something happen down there, she immediately contacts us and says, hey, Poughkeepsie just had a shooting. You know, hey, they recovered 4 rounds, they have a description of the vehicle, that might be something that we had last week, and she's able to feed that information to detectives. On the other side of it, the 180 is because she's in the detective division, our detectives are working on cases, and she'll just listen to what's going on and start to do workups on individuals automatically. So if they're talking about, hey, possible suspect is John Jones, she'll start to do a workup on John Jones and say, hey, just so you know, John Jones was arrested down in New York City yesterday for a gun charge. This is the car he was driving, and these are the 3 people he was with. And now they start working that angle of it. So she does a lot of the investigative tasks when it comes to like, not just analysis of stats, but also tracking down people a lot easier. She is, and I say she because Darian Morley has been with us for a few years now. She is absolutely amazing for a young lady. She just got her master's degree and absolutely phenomenal. And obviously, I know we have to go through a civil service process, but for a position like that, we're following the heels of Poughkeepsie and Newburgh, who have done the same thing we have, who have now recognized that a crime analyst embedded within the detective division or investigative body is as important as having any additional staff. She is on it. And again, I've told her already, the plan is when a case happens, something major, we call her up and she comes. You know, right now, she's playing catch up, right? Because she's on their schedule. And she would be on ours. So it really isn't much of a lift on this one because there's a $65,000 grant. We're looking at a $55,000 salary plus benefit package. So we're looking at the city would have to cover maybe $11,000, $10,000 a year to have a full-time analyst on staff. So.
And then you reckon that would be the permanent cost? So
I believe so, yeah. Sure, if any CSEA contract increases,
Sure,
it should be union through CSEA. I would imagine that's how the other municipalities have done it.
Okay, so I'm just, because I'm looking at, it says requested 55,000 and recommended was 27.5.
Right, so it's only half a year's salary because the grant currently covers her through John Finn until June 30th. We would then pick up the salary, the $55,000 salary for only half a year.
Okay. And but would that be the same deal next year?
No.
No.
Next year now, we would show the full 55 in the budget, plus the benefits. But again, at that point now, we're showing the full give grant funding for reimbursement.
Right, you would take the half year, the contractual expenses of John Finn out. So it's just swap, this year for the 23 budget, you have half, basically the consultant and half
Got it.
for payroll, and then next year will be full payroll. And just to clarify too, I mean, ultimately this salary would have to be negotiated with the CSCA, but this was, we had an estimate where we thought it would fall, so.
It sounds like a really simple position. Sorry.
I'm sorry, because when it looks like you're on the positions chief, it says you 80 last year and it says 82 in 2023. That's why it was 2 positions.
Right. And in actuality, there is in 2022, our budget only showed 80 positions total, but then we added the clerk, raised it to 81, then the crime.
Okay, I see.
That's where the 2 positions come in. Yeah.
And now, and you guys might have to jump in here. I'm looking at, my eyes are going. And it says personal leave pay, it jumped up. No, you asked for 37, it went to 27, I'm not sure. Am I looking at this right?
No, it was the,
Explain the personal leave pay, which is line item 106.
Yep, so the personal leave pay, so the personal leave days, every officer, every PBA member gets 4 of them, 1 per quarter to be used. In the past, if they were not used, they would get paid $40 a day for them. The problem we were having back operationally was people were using them and creating overtime.
Okay.
All right. The new contract settled on a figure of, if a personal leave day is not used, the officer can get paid for that day at the regular rate of pay. Basically, 1 times the regular pay versus time and a half of the regular pay for the overtime. So we anticipate that there will be many more officers taking the PL as a paid day versus burning their day and then creating the overtime shift.
And that was part of the new contract.
So that won't create overtime because
The person, by burning it will,
uh,
but by getting paid for it, it will not.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify too, I mean, just to throw this in, before with the $40 payout, no one was gonna, I mean, very rarely would someone cash out their personal leave day and get paid $40. So they would burn them, right? And if they're burning them and then there's a staffing shortage, they have to call in the overtime. So this now, basically puts it more in line with like the CACA. I mean, they get paid out, if they use personal, they get paid out for the personal day.
So they pay the regular pay.
To help reduce overtime.
Where did they ever come up with $40?
It's been in the contract. So I probably
1972.
before I was here.
Yeah,
So
the truth is,
I'm sure it's
when
right.
I came on in 92, they said all the time, never get paid for your day, kid. Like this, we're gonna give you $40
Yeah, 40 bucks.
to pay for the day.
get lunch today.
It almost have to be an oversight by the person not realizing they use it or something.
Yeah,
All right, I'm just shooting here if I can. 107 school guard near Matrix.
Yeah.
So it looks like we got some increase here. We got a lot more school guards staying, coming forward.
No, it's the
Is it-
same, but it was requested more, which is my question.
right, so we requested more.
I'm looking at from 2021, how it jumped up.
Oh,
That's what I was
gotcha.
looking over.
Yeah, I was like,
Over the
2020.
Last 3 years, it jumped from, what, 7,000 to 27 to another 27.
So what we're finding is, it is extremely difficult
Yeah,
to find people to come out for 2 hours in the morning
okay.
and 2 hours in the afternoon for $11 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's raining or cold, or we're just not getting anyone interested. So you have to up the rate now, something respectable to at least compensate them for their time.
And what is that per,
The-
what is it now? Okay, do you know how many hours and what's the rate?
It's usually 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon.
So 4 hours total. What is it?
Total, per day is what we're usually doing, and then we're trying to get them up to 25.
25 hours per hour.
So, but you had requested 37,000, were you hoping to get more and just then?
Yeah, if we cover more corners, there's been a few more requests from people.
Right, that's what I think we heard from
Yeah.
constituents, that they would like
Yeah, more corners, yeah.
more, and you just,
One, we can't cover the corners we currently have because we just don't have them. We don't have the individuals interested enough to do it. So what we end up doing is covering the current corners with police officers during the shift, which again causes problems.
Right, and that doesn't get charged to that line, it gets charged to obviously
just,
regular pay. Yeah, I mean, in just terms of what's actually being spent, the last few years, I mean, we started in 2020, we had a budget of 37, we pulled it out, most of it out. You know, we spent like $3,600 last year, or 21, we spent $7,100. This year we're at 11, it's hard to find the staffing, so, you know, even if the police department can spend 27,000 next year, it would be a large increase over, you know, current year spending, just, you know, obviously if you can increase the rate and bring.
so the $25 is new to this year, or,
We're trying, yeah, we're going
So-
to increase. it.
okay, so hopefully we'll
Hopefully,
get somewhere.
we do have, just like you, I received a request at my desk as well. Oh, we have a corner, any way to put a cop there?
And all these, when I drive to schools, when the kids are coming, and they're all over the crossing guards, it's nice to see,
Yeah,
but.
that's important to have, it's just hard to say.
If for some reason a miracle occurs and you get a rush of people who want to do this job, do not hesitate, please, to come back to us, you know, to increase
great.
that line.
Yeah.
Because I know, this is one of the main calls that I get is from folks about this particular issue.
Yeah,
And
it'd be nice to see.
it's our
more.
children that are at stake here, right? So
Yes, agreed, 100%. And that's why we try to get the officers there, but there are so many, we used to have, I mean, I don't want to, we must have had at one point 15 corners we were covering every day in the morning. And it worked out okay because people did, retired individuals, they would go out there, hold a sign, make sure the kids cross. And then as they started saying, I'm getting too old, I don't want to do it anymore, we could not find a replacement, so we started cutting the corners back that we covered. And at one point, I remember it was one of the council finance meetings, they opted, because we had $40,000 in that budget. And that budget-
$11, yeah. Wow.
$40,000, we covered a lot. And at one point, they said, well, you can save 40,000, we'll just take it out, no more crossing guards, no more corners, just don't cover them, that's the school's responsibility. That lasted until 9 o'clock the next morning. Every old person got a call, and then they put the money right back in the budget, so.
Yeah.
They find that pretty funny.
How do you, I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on this one, but how is it advertised, these?
We try to put it out everywhere, Facebook, the newspaper, we do everything we can. The officers are asking, hey, you want a job?
Well, maybe that's also something that we could all share on our Facebook posts.
Okay,
and-
Yeah, I'll send that information, so.
4 hours a day, 25.
Yeah, but again, you have to figure that it's not like it's 4 hours, 8 to 12, right, where it's midday. You're there for a couple of hours in the morning, and then you gotta come back. So it's best suited for someone who has a lot of flexibility in their schedule, whether they're retired or whatever the situation is.
Or rich.
It's my help, right? And we've had people say that, well, I can help, but I can't do the afternoon part. So now we just find somebody for the 2 hours. And like I said, before we had $40,000 a year given to us, and we covered a lot of corners. But I know some of the enrollment's down, so that may be part of it, but even if one child gets to that intersection, you can't cover something. So, but we are struggling with that.
Well, thanks for increasing it.
Steve, Tony?
I'm just jumping on part-time employees. I mean, I have a lot here. It's up $10,000. And can you explain that to us?
Yes, similarly to the, here's my complete with the, similar to my discussion about having difficulty in trying to get crossing guards, we're also having difficulty finding dispatchers, part-time dispatchers. So we currently have, you'll see in the staffing tables, 3 full-time dispatchers, each one covers day shift, the afternoon shift, and the evening shift. When they're off, contractual days off, we backfill with part-timers. Well, those part-timers now come in, and it is difficult, again, when you look at the schedule, to find someone to come in on a midnight shift for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the following week, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So, and other jurisdictions are paying slightly more. So we're doing with this one is increasing the salary to entice them to come to work here. It is a difficult schedule to fill. Our officers are currently scheduled to work 7 days on, 3 days off, 7 days on, and 4 days off. So they work a 7-day work week, including our dispatchers. It's very unusual for law enforcement. A lot of agencies have got 12-hour days. Some are doing 5-5-4, 5 days in a row, 5 days in a row, 4 days in a row. But for us, it's a hard one to fill.
And is that a contract thing?
It's contractual. And as far as I know, the union has in the past discussed about possibly changing it, but never got to the point where they wrote the rest for it, so.
So
Yeah, I mean, the advantage-
they must like it. the union.
Yeah, I imagine they do, right? When I came on, it was just, again, 92, I think it got changed in 96 or 92, but it used to be 7 days on, 2 days off, 8 days on, 4 days off. So back then, you always had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off on the 3rd weekend. That's how we call it, a long weekend. So that schedule has been in place for years and years and years. And then TR agreed to give them 1 extra day off every 3 weeks. So then it would work to 7-3, 7-4. So again, that's the difficulty. If you have a full-time dispatcher, they're off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the following week, they're off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So now you have to find someone, or it'd be a lot easier if finding a part-time, it's the only real part-time positions we have down there are dispatchers. If we had a Monday through Friday, because finding somebody for Saturday and Sunday, usually you can still have a full-time job somewhere, a Monday through Friday job, and then sit at the desk, as we call it, on the weekends. So you really kind of find someone who's got a unique lifestyle that can come in, especially midnights. You know, midnights is, it's a rough part. You know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But so that increase, the short story is the increase is trying to entice the salary.
I ask a couple questions?
Just a couple, 5488, ammunition and gas, what is that? Why are they, what kind of gas?
So it's just the title of the actual, it's mostly ammunition.
All right.
Although we do use gas, so when I say gas, the old days, it used to be gas munitions, CN, CS,
Yeah.
BioC out of it. They are crowd control devices. You know, they used to throw tear gas
Oh, okay.
in the crowd.
Yeah.
But we could change that just to ammunition. If you look at the list of stuff we have, it just lists the ammunition that we have.
Okay, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, just say yes, yeah.
I kind of figured that.
Yeah.
And the only other thing is, it's such a small amount. I'm presuming meal allowances for when they're at training or something like that?
Correct. The $500 increase is to account for a contractual change. Where it used to be $7.50 a meal, and now it's up to $9.50. So that's where the $500 comes in.
So, are you done? I want to jump in. I have 4 questions. The 105 retirement,
Yes.
is that, I mean, I see you request 85,000. Does that mean somebody's not retiring, or how is that?
We haven't had confirmation. We anticipated some retirements, as we always do, but no one's put the letters in yet. I don't have some.
All right, so it may come back if that thing change.
Yeah, like we do every year. You know, surprise, I'm retiring. Next thing you know, I'm back in front of council. Hey, I need money.
And then the equipment, is that just moved into the capital plan?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so that- And 2 questions that aren't really necessary, well, like, one is budget, but I just don't see it. And this is actually comes from Alderwoman Barbara Hill. I guess she talked to your deputy or she know somebody, you weren't there, about the, what do they call the speed trackers?
Speed trackers.
The ones, the ones that you move,
You know.
that, what are they called?
Yeah,
The ones that track.
Speed signs. Yeah,
Speed signs, yeah.
Feedback
She's-
meters, you mean?
Yeah, speed signs.
Yeah, she said she was told that they are out of commission, they're not working.
Yeah, we have in for repair too.
Right, is there, I mean, so that's plans and there's money for that in the budget?
Correct, yeah, we have an account for that, yes.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to.
It's not that they're not gonna get repaired, we're just waiting on.
Oh, yeah, no, she wasn't sure, wanted to have that confirmed, because you get calls from us
Oh, yeah,
about that,
absolutely.
and.
Those things are great, I gotta tell you that, I mean, ours are trailer mounted speed signs. They're high end, you know, they have the capability for connection to our patrol cars and whatnot. I would like to put a pitch in at some point, after maybe speaking to the city engineer, to look at those solar powered signs that get posted either on poles or.
So I've been talking to DPW and John about that, and we talked about that in public safety a couple of times about trying to do that, so I think a lot of the aldermen are in favor of it.
They're very effective, I mean, some people use them to see how fast the car goes, right? Let's be honest, that happens. Right? There's
Oh, you can
there's no
do that?
enforcement
I didn't know that.
to those, but a lot of times, people that aren't intending to speed don't recognize that they're doing over 30 miles an hour, right? So that's really the benefit of it. We get people passing our patrol cars, you know, they know it's 45 here, and they're still doing 55, and when they get pulled over, they act surprised.
I'm always hitting the brakes when I see those things.
Exactly, slow down, too fast, right? So they are pretty decent.
I think there's a couple, I take my grandson to school out, going out Lucas Avenue, I think there's a couple
Yes,
solar ones.
yeah.
Out
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, there's a couple of places that have them, mostly around the school zones, but they are effective, and since they're self-powered,
Yeah,
the installation is
we
pretty.
have them at West Point, I know they've heard me say this multiple times, but they're wonderful. And it keeps
Yeah.
everybody obeying.
Keeps them in line, right?
Yeah.
And you're not gonna stop somebody from speed, right? But the ones that are conscious of speed may not recognize it. I'll be honest with you, sometimes you get into a zone, you're not thinking, oh, I'm in a 30, you know, coming down, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're doing 29. See, you're trying to get me to do it. Yeah,
Get
so-
rid of it, something on camera.
Do we have any, handheld speed radar detectors?
Yes.
Do we have, is there one for every car that's out?
No, we don't. We usually put out LiDAR or radar detectors, either model. The radar dash mount, the LiDAR is handheld. We have the officers sign them out because normally we're not able to do that type of enforcement during the regular patrol shift. So we'll use either step money through traffic enforcement, like the traffic enforcement program, step. And so we have grant funding for that. And when we get calls for speeders, we'll put out a car specifically to address that. So they'll use a radar or a LiDAR, unit, depending on where the location is.
So how many guns do the radar guns?
So we have 2 LiDAR and 2 radar.
So technically, every car could have one during a shift.
We could,
Okay.
And the cost of that?
I'd have to look at it. I think I may have given it to Mike, right, the bid on.
Yeah.
Yeah, $1,800
Okay.
each
And that's for a LiDAR.
for LiDAR, yeah.
So you're saying that you guys don't, that's not part of your shift, it's the.
Not normally, not for speed enforcement as a regular patrol function, that doesn't usually occur. When the officers get their assignments for the day, unless there's an extra patrol above the regular minimum staffing, they don't normally go out intending to do speed enforcement. They'll do the stop signs, the regular other stuff, but usually the speed enforcement requires a vehicle to be stationary. That's how we usually do it, only because of the city. But yeah, if there's a problem, if someone says, hey, Jim, they're flying down my block, right? Can you do something? We'll put out a special patrol to address it. We usually try to handle it.
I mean, that's again, it's one of the major calls that we get, it's from people saying people are speeding and already, so it would have to be a steady problem and to reach out to you for you to staff a car to be stationary at a location.
And we can do it. I mean, certainly if you called me up and said, hey, there was a problem over here, Jim, I'll put a car in a LiDAR unit in it to issue any summonses they have to. A lot of times the response is, let's put the speed sign out and make people aware that what their speed is, right? That's why those solar powered units are very effective. But that's not going to stop the hot rodder from doing 60 out someplace that's 30.
I'm sorry, anybody else?
Keep going, Tom.
Oh, Rita's.
Oh, and Mike.
Rita?
Hi, Chief.
Hey, Rita.
Just flashing that big smile. Stop it. I just had a question. I think it's 3510 in the budget book about veterinary and animal control services. So that contract, is that with other counties or surrounding counties? Because I thought KPD did not have the animals anymore.
We don't. It's a contract with the Wilson County SPCA.
It's okay. It's a contract with them.
Yeah.
And so what does that do though? What is that?
The contract allows them essentially to take over any type of animal control. When I say animal control, really specifically dogs and cats in the city. But like we used to have a dog catcher, that's the service they now take care of. So if someone has a dog, it's not properly licensed, or it's barking, officers will get there and immediately contact this SPCA. They have their animal control officers that come out, take care of the animal, make sure it's properly vaccinated or not vaccinated, but it has its shots, and also anything to do with any type of hazards, licensing, and so on.
Okay, great.
It's been
Thank you.
great. They have been, I gotta tell you, as a plug, the SPCA has been phenomenal to work with. They really have. Great organization.
Yep. Thank you.
And Chief, I'm just.
Mike had his.
Yeah, I'm going, Mike.
So thank you, Chief, for coming. A quick question, and I apologize, this is going to be kind of by surprise, but I spoke to a couple officers and they were informing me that sometimes there's technical issues in the cars with not having the internet so they can run certain things, or the paper in order to print tickets. What can we do with one of these budget lines to ensure that, these guys have everything they need in the cars?
Well, I can tell you that if there's an issue with either the vehicle mechanically or any type of equipment that's in there, we tell them to put the Q alert in, that either IT gets notified so they can fix it, or if it's a mechanical issue, that we take it out right to the mechanic to get it fixed as well. I don't believe I've ever heard that we've run out of paper. I can tell you in the supply locker, there's plenty of paper down there for the scanner. But, they are 24/7 vehicles, and especially this past year, they're just being used essentially 24/7. So they do go down. I can tell you that in this year's budget, as part of the capital plan, we do have in here computers for the vehicles, which include scanners and printers.
Okay, awesome.
That's in here as well.
Good. And then my next question is kind of touching on what we talked about earlier with the LiDAR detectors. I know when we were discussing the possibility of lowering the speed limit from 30 to 25, the big thing we were talking about is enforcement. So I think if we are going to proceed with that, and it looks like we are going to, at that $1,800 a pop, you know, what do we need to do, and what's the turnaround time to get those for you guys? Like if we adopted a line budget to get those or whatever it may be, you know, I'm not the finance guy here, but you know, what is the turnaround to be able to get those put in the cars?
So the LiDAR units are usually the handheld units, they're made for stationary posts. Getting them in the cars, I mean, we order them, they come in a suitcase, officers take them out, and they go out and do their thing. It's not so much the equipment, it's having the staffing and the time to do it. That's why, as I mentioned before, it's easier for us to say, I need 3 guys for a Friday night detail, I want you on these corners.
Okay.
So it's not normally put out as a patrol function, only because we do have a high call volume in the city of Kingston with the staffing levels that we have.
Sure.
So it's not, you know, if the sergeant or lieutenant recognize, hey, I've got 6 officers on, you tonight, Tinty, you're gonna be doing traffic. I want you to take a LiDAR out and post yourself at these locations. And that's what they'll do. That's his or her assignment for that night.
Okay. And my final question, which is the same thing that I asked Chief Rhea, the budget that we have set forth for you, are you comfortable enough that your guys can do their job and get home safely at the end of the day with the amount of money that we have in the budget for equipment and everything else?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So again, going piggybacking on and Mike's saying, again, even if we go change it from 30 to 25, it's still that issue of enforcement.
Yes.
I mean, we can change it down to 10.
Yep.
But if we're not enforcing it, it's still not gonna
Correct.
be sufficient, efficient. And so, and what you're saying is that with the manpower you have, you would still have to bring somebody back in to be able to be stationary somewhere in order to enforce that.
Yeah, there's times when we can, as I mentioned before, right? So we all have a crossing guard. We can't find somebody, or the crossing guard assigned to that corner calls in, right? Can't make it, I'm sick, I have a doctor's appointment, whatever. We now take an officer who's currently on the shift off the street for 4 hours. Right? There's one down there. Then on top of that, if there's any type of court issues and they call down and say, hey, we got somebody, you need the fingerprint, we have to bring somebody in off the street to do that as well. So our staffing is good right now, the numbers that are out. The 565 is working out well. It's been like that for many years. We balance it between safety and making sure that we can answer the call volume. However, to do more with that is really left up to the specific lieutenant or the sergeant on a day-to-day basis. So there may be days you'll find somebody in a vehicle doing radar, because it might be a Sunday afternoon, we don't have anything going on. But when there's events, we make sure that we have not only those officers working, but additional officers working for traffic control then as well. So a lot of times, we get called out when there's a fire. And I hate to use that analogy because we have a fire department, but the truth is that if you call and say, hey, they're flying down my street, or there's a stop sign that they're not stopping at, right? We'll put an officer over in that location to see if they can issue the summons. And normally, how long have we been doing this, right? Normally, you recognize it's only 1 or 2 people, but it's those individuals that create the problems for everyone else, right? We put speed signs out, we get the results back, and we look, and 95% of the individuals, the cars that go through this license plate reader or this camera system are doing the speed limit. But it's those couple where someone walks out of the Porsche and goes, they're flying. Chief, someone's gonna die at this intersection and it's on you. You hear it all the time, right? So
Yeah.
the enforcement's difficult, right? If you think about how many cars are in the city, how many stop signs or intersections there are, it's almost impossible with the numbers we have, but we can address it because it really comes down to a few people that aren't obeying the laws.
But I also think that, I mean, so if I see a like, I'm such a goody two shoes. If I see a cop car someplace on a block, I'm like, oh my gosh, I will never go that 1 mile over the speed limit. You know, just, I think that also, like,
The visibility,
it's,
right?
yeah, it's not just the person who's being pulled over, it's everybody who drives by, because right now, I mean, there's a reputation, there isn't a lot of, you know, you could drive through that stop sign on that street because they've never seen any consequence
And that's,
from it.
Yeah.
that's the
Tell
thing,
me-
is, again, that's
tell me-
the red, because, you know, people, you know, oh, we can go fast we want in Kingston because we're not getting tickets. Unless, you know, a state trooper happens to be driving through and pulls them over. And, you know, again, that you'd have to create more, we'd have to create more officers.
Right, and so in the past, we've asked for help in that situation, right? We've looked at the state troopers or the sheriff's office to come in and give us assistance. That always hasn't been viewed well by the public, right? So we got to try to balance that as well, right? And a lot of times, the officers that serve the city of Kingston have a different view, right? That community policing aspect isn't normally about issuing the ticket, right? Maybe it's a good talking to that thing. Sometimes they need to talk to the judge. I've said that before. Sometimes they don't want to hear it from me. Hey, slow down. They're like, I'll do whatever I want. No, let me get the judge to tell you to slow down. Here's your ticket, right? So sometimes it has to be that way. But I think that for us, when I look at our numbers and the number of tickets that we issue every month, I think we do a fair share of our ticket writing and balancing that with all the other responsibilities we have. But as I say, you know, as I said before, please, if you have a particular intersection or you have a certain stretch of a street that's a problem, you let me know and we'll put out the patrols. It'll have to be either as an extra spot on the shift or as an overtime detail, but we can address it.
What about the possibility, I know in some municipalities, they have a few folks who are dedicated to traffic safety. Would there be a possibility for that if you increased your person power by 1 or 2? And be folks who would be dedicated, and because, you know, I'm fully on board with what you're talking about. But a lot of people, you talk to them and that's enough. Others, you know, they got to go to the judge, but. And then the other thing I'm thinking about too is we also get now a lot of complaints about people on bicycles. And, you know, I can't imagine that we're going to be calling you and saying, hey, we saw a guy riding a bicycle the wrong way on Main Street, right? But if you had somebody, so I appreciate too, the officers being on their bikes, you know, being in public. But I was thinking if we had a couple of people who were dedicated to traffic safety so that their first point of discussion would be more educational, but perhaps with the power to write tickets. What do you think of something like that?
We've tried that in the past. Number-wise, with the contractual days off, it would not make financial sense for the city to do that.
But so, you mean because of the number of summonses they write, or?
No, it's not even the summons part of it, as far as like the revenue from tickets, you're talking about, with benefits, say $100,000 to employ one officer. They're working essentially 240 days a year that they would be working the street. That would only cover you one shift. Then you have to take them off for training, legal updates, right? There's a whole bunch of other things, plus any contractual time that they're able to take off vacation and so on. But they'll be scheduled for 240 days a year. So our formula really is almost 3 to 1. If you want one cop, you gotta hire 3, and that'll only get you one shift. So for us, I have always felt, and I'm a numbers guy, right? And I know some people listening might not like it, right? So the public might go, oh, wait, what are you talking about, Andy? But the fact is, if you say, I want dedicated traffic enforcement, well, put money into overtime, and then we can get the officers to do it beyond their normal shift. Now, the day shift can stay 4 hours over, the midnight shift can come in 4 hours earlier. All right, there's some flexibility in making that. That's why the step detail with Ulster County was very successful. And on top of that, they told us where the intersections were, right? The step detail is the selective traffic enforcement program. They said, here's the intersections that have high crash rates. They're most likely, there's the ones that people run stop signs, aren't stopping at the lights. This is where you should focus. So that's why we put officers out there, and that's where you'll see the tickets being written. And the same through you, right? You get the call, you know, when I get a call and says they're flying down Main Street, I'll assign an officer at some point to say, I'll try to get an idea when, is it only happen at night, is it during the day, right? That's the other part of it. And think again, how many officers are we looking to hire, and how many intersections or roadways or streets do we have to cover? It's almost impossible, right? It's impossible. It is, it's impossible. You know, when we start looking at it up, but if you say to me, here's where it's happening, let me come up with a plan, right? Today I want you 2 hours here, this afternoon I want you here.
So then if we had sort of a combination of some of the speed monitors, the speed feedback monitors, talk with the engineer, find the right places to put those, increase overtime by X amount that we figure out later. So you would be able to have actually currently hired officers would have some time to put out there. When I remember too, there was a period where we had increased overtime for a period of increased
Yes.
enforcement. So we could probably look at something like that, perhaps on a bit more of a regular basis.
Correct. Yep.
Because I think that's the crucial thing. You know, the problem, of course, as you well know, is you can put an officer on Pearl Street, and for the 2 days the officer's there, whoa, everybody's going.
Oh, yeah, wow. Yep.
Except for the two, we know who they are. And one of them's in one of those golf carts. You know, but if you're more regular with that enforcement, then the city, because Tony's talking about, Kingston doesn't have a reputation for traffic enforcement. But if we can sort of build that up over time, then it's not like you have to then have the 3 permanent officers on traffic safety. So maybe at some point, I don't know if this budget is the place to start, but as we think about this, we can think about what kind of hours of overtime, what kind of costs we're talking about.
Everybody wants the enforcement, right? We get complaints from neighbors all the time until they're the one getting stopped. And then they want the break.
Well, and that's when I first started looking
But
into
that's not
this.
it.
You know,
What I'm getting at is, everybody's complaining about the lack of enforcement. But
People also complain about the potholes, and then when the street is paved, the next day, they are, the same people are calling about speeding people. I mean, that literally just happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so.
So,
One
but
solution
that
creates
doesn't,
another
but that doesn't mean we stop paving the streets,
right,
you know, it's just, but yes,
And I
it's a
agree, it's about enforcement, right? That's the case. Whether it's a warning in some cases, and probably more so than not, it's a warning. But sometimes the individual is a repeat offender, right? So in our place, we track even the warnings in our records management system. So I pull you over Wednesday and I go, hey, listen, I got you 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, you gotta slow down. Listen, you're not gonna leave, I'm late to work, you gotta go, blah, blah. Okay, slow down. 2 days later, another officer pulls you over, same location, doing the same thing. He's gonna bring it up and say, hey, wait a minute. Tinty cut you loose the other day, right? That's no good, you're not paying attention
You
here.
gotta get up from work. Work again.
I fix that alarm clock on your cell phone.
And sadly, everybody thinks you should know about the speeders on their street.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, like, how would you know? Somebody called me 11 o'clock at night one night on Third Avenue. I said, well, did you call the police? Well, no, I'm calling you. I said, why are you calling me? Why don't you call the police? You're wasting a half an hour here. Well, they should know. Why should they know?
Yeah. I think the one year, maybe back in 2011, I came in with a city map. And I had plotted every stop sign with a red dot, every stop sign. And I went, come on, let's be reasonable about this, right? Let's really talk about this, about enforcement. Look how many stop signs, look how many
Well, I
intersections.
think there's probably a lot of stop signs that don't belong in the city of Kingston, that's,
That's a whole.
yeah, that's, I know that's
That's a
not a
different
river
part.
category, so, I mean,
There
there's
are
lots
a lot of Alderman stop signs.
we've talked about this over the years, so, but that doesn't help, because when there's a stop sign and somebody thinks it's ridiculous, because it is, then they're not going to pay attention to it, so, but, you know, what else do you do to?
So let's move on then to the capital plan. I see 3 items on there. In the past couple of years with the police vehicles, we bought those to help draw down the
Fund balance.
fund balance. What are you
Yes.
thinking this year?
This year, what we were proposing is the entire list of to put it on the bonding list. It doesn't mean that it will get bonded, but at least to have that availability to bond for it, and then as fund balance becomes available, we may look to pay things off. So, like we did this year, the mayor and I came to the council, we had a list of items to pay down, we paid down some debt service, capital projects, so I would plan to, as long as the economy holds up, we'd do something similar next year.
And so the new vehicles will be ordered on January 1st.
They wouldn't be ordered, well, by the time we pay for them, it would be, we'd be paying for the vehicles that were on the prior capital plans. But typically, if we are going to recommend any assets to be paid for with available fund balance rather than bonding, police vehicles would be at top of the list. They have the shortest lifespan of almost any equipment that we have, so. It would target those first.
And then what are mobile barriers?
That's what I want to know. What's the mobile barriers, Chief?
They're awesome. So for the first time, in the past, for any type of event, usually the larger ones, the Hooli and so on, we've used dump trucks. We've used big vehicles. We've used them all. This year, our deputy chief and one of our lieutenants they were at the Dutchess County Fair and saw these metal barriers that are essentially easy to move. They're made by Meridian. They come in sets, and they're down at our headquarters now. They're being stored down there until they're picked up. But they're put on a trailer. There's 8 to a trailer. They're easily put in place by a single officer that uses a simple jack system. Once they're laid down, they don't move. I can send you a link to the video.
Is it like these systems here?
No. If you look on Meridian,
How do you spell that?
Meridian.
Oh, yeah.
So what is the difference, what is the reason for that besides a dump truck?
So one, the mobility part of it, no. They're metal barriers. Right there in the center. That's it, that's the one. That's what they look like.
Oh, I see, so they
Yeah.
got wheels.
So they have wheels on them, there's a simple jack system, easy to put in place.
Gotcha.
So one, they offer high visibility, right? You can see over the top, it's not a dump truck that blocks views. They're easily moved, so in case there is an emergency, one officer with a jack can pull it out of the way. You cannot push them, you cannot move them without this jack system. Really impressive engineering. They are designed to stop cars. So in case, if you click on that link, you'll see there's a video that when the car impacts it, it kind of jacks the car up and stops the vehicle within a couple of feet. They're designed for like government and embassies and so on. So, but this system, they were given us for 2 events, the Italian Festival and the Hooli, I believe we used it for the African American Festival as well.
Yes.
And fantastic. They are easy to move, easy to put in place. They come in sets. They have the capability to have gates put on them for pass-throughs. One, we wouldn't have to call DPW.
That would save overtime.
Overtime and the visibility, let's face it, right? You don't want to go down to an event where we're promoting the city and now they're coming up on the side of a dump truck or a pickup truck or any type of.
I think somebody's gonna be very disappointed if you're saying that.
How many, we were talking about one, and how many is this?
2 sets. We're looking at 2 full sets.
What's a set?
So it's 8 barricades, the trailer, the jacks, the gates. So each set is about $80,000. We're looking for 2. And only because on the large events, we'll be able to,
But you said it's 8 barriers per set?
8 barriers plus the trailer.
Where
plus,
is this gonna be stored? You
Down at our
have.
headquarters.
There's a room for it.
Yeah. We would use one of our existing pickup trucks to tow the trailer, unload them, move the trailer out of the way. Yeah, if you've seen the events, they actually work out well. And to be honest with you, once we have them, it's lifetime. These things are 1-inch thick steel, short of maybe a touch up with a paint, spray paint here and there, easily get dinged up. Other than that, they're virtually indestructible. Absolutely. If you get a chance to watch the video, it's impressive. They have these big trucks coming through and it catches them. They have wires, cables that you can put across, and it just wraps around the vehicles. And very impressive. But again, since where, since the police department's put in charge for the safety of the, the pedestrians and everyone down to these events, it makes sense now, especially with the limited event, to invest in a system like this. This truly is a lifetime investment. These aren't 3 years like for a patrol car or, guns where we have to turn them in every so often, or printers that go bad. It's a hunk of steel, short of, and I think we actually, as part of that set, it comes with a couple cans of special spray paint, of course, everything's, but spray cans just to kind of touch them up, make them look good. They have the capability for signs to direct traffic, left, right, center. If you check out the website, if you want me, I'll send you the link. It's pretty impressive. They worked out very well for us. Or go right down to our headquarters, in the back parking lot, and you'll see them in the back.
The other thing is with these cameras, bicycles, and computers. So how many bicycles are we going on that?
So we're looking at 15 bikes, 15 or 16 bikes. The ones we have were, as the deputy chief mentioned, when we pulled them out of stock, he says, "Holy cow, this was my bike." And that's how long these things have been used. So we definitely need them. We currently only have 3 that are functioning. The other units are used for parts.
Right, and then the cameras we were talking about earlier, that is gonna be the cameras is that what we were talking about?
Streetlight cameras, or is
The
that?
street, those would just, yes, those would be the street pole cameras.
So you're getting more?
Yes, I'm asking for 10 more. Yeah.
I saw an officer on my street looking for a place.
They're great. I have to tell you, I can't emphasize enough the return on the investment that they have come. Fantastic. And as far as I know, no one here has received any complaints about them, right? As far as the cameras and being intrusive or nothing. You can't even tell that they're there, right? They're there. You can see them. They're not hiding, so they're over cameras. But
So you're looking for 10 more
10
different locations, 10 more, okay?
yes, well, I would like to see, believe it or not, every intersection in the city covered. They have been nothing but everything from accidents where we have to recover for insurance purposes, everything for investigations, everything for, solving investigations. A lot of times witnesses may not be out at that time, and we're able, even if the camera at the intersection didn't catch it, the one down the street catches the vehicle leaving. So they have been an incredible return on the investment.
But they're not easy to move. I'm just thinking, because there's been some issues with construction sites lately. And it would be nice if they could catch the people who, do things that they're not supposed to, like drive into a work zone that they're not
Yes.
supposed to drive into, or hit one of our workers.
So they do make trailer mounted units that you can, if you have a work zone, you can just move it, set it up and attach it to our network. They do make those units. They're a lot more expensive, but they do have it. And they have the capability to do 360. I think there's 2 cameras with PTZ on it. But yes, they do make them just for mobile applications. The $10,000 price tag in these is for fixed mount. We can move them. So how it works is each has a camera system that mounts on essentially a fixed mount system. So it's strapped around, the city electrician mounts it, either connects it to the light pole through the switch or hardwires it. And when it's necessary to move it, if we find this camera's not catching anything, it's more pressing to move it, he'll just go up in the bucket truck, grab it down, move it over, and it's really that simple. We're asking for 10 additional intersections to be covered, but it has been, I'd like to see a mobile unit, and I honestly, the reason, without even getting involved in the work zones, I think for the events. I think it would be good to accompany the barriers to have 1 or 2 units at the beginning, at the entrances or exits of these large events. So in case something happens, we're able to see firsthand. And just so you know, we don't monitor them in real time. We just don't have the personnel to do it. But when something happens, our dispatchers and our detectives have the capability, the screens are on, to immediately go to the cameras.
Can you also, just because this conversation happened a couple of years ago and people in the room heard it, but when you put it on a street, it's not looking into houses.
Correct.
And bedrooms.
That's correct.
And stuff like that. So it is, for others, we know that it might just be good to.
Right, yeah, no, for anybody viewing or listening, when we point these, they're pointed down the street. We're not looking into bedrooms, we're not looking into businesses, we're not looking at any of that. They're designed to go right down the street.
Well, that's because the CIA monitors every shot we have.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, right now I'm gonna get ads for cameras, LiDAR units, right, they're all, it's in there, right, the camera.
Chief, before we finish up here, just in case, fellow people who are not, I'm sorry.
So I'll wait, go ahead.
Go on, you go.
I just wanted to, Chief, you're asking for 10 more, you said?
Right.
And it's not necessarily just for hotspots, it's just to be placed around the city, in and around the city of Kingston?
No, they would then be put, so we did the first 30 locations, we still have that list going. So now we would add 10 to the following, from list 30 to 40 at that point. So we're still using crowd analysis to put them out. We're not randomly throwing them out there. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
An incarcerated individual at
Whoop.
Old
I guess I was in, first off, as I mentioned, when I wasn't here for DPW, that was here for the fire department. And with the vehicle fuel, the price of fuel is going up, and it's going out here and I'm saying that when and where possible, and can you just have your, vehicles try to conserve fuel as much as possible, and, that cost is going up. Another thing is this so we would have these answers for the ones that might not be here, council, because we do wrap up or later on. Service contracts and contracted services, it looks like line item 471 is up like $50,000 and or something to that effect, right? 253 you requested, or you requested 77, but you're getting 290, almost 300,000.
Correct.
Can you tell me what tell us what service contracts are?
Yes, so we're actually increasing, so the service contracts, the bulk of that is gonna be the body cameras for Axon. We're adding mobile dash cams as well. We currently have dash cams in the cars, in addition to the body cameras, but they're two separate vendors. One's WatchGuard, the other one's Axon. We're converting everything over to Axon for the simplicity of maintaining cataloging for the video. So with the advent of the requirements for discovery over the last 2 years, we're finding that one, WatchGuard is end of life, not that the company's end of life. We're finding that at this point, we need to replace the equipment. It's old, it's coming up on over 5 years. Axon offers a program that will mesh the body cams and the dash cams into one unit. So there's where the additional cost is on that.
So body cameras and dash cameras.
Correct.
All right.
Body cameras we already have.
Yep.
So the Axon Officer Safety Program incorporates the body camera, the tasers, and replacement of those units over the course of a 5-year contract. We're now putting into place the mobile dash cam option as well.
And that's that contracted services as well, I'm assuming, line up to 472.
Yep.
All right. And then the last one, this, again, for people, 480 safety supplies.
Yes.
Again, what is this? Something like $12,000.
Yep, so the safety supplies, the bulk of that. So the increase in that is now we are buying officers their new vests when they come out. So anytime an officer gets hired, instead of refurbishing the red vest, they get a brand new vest. And we're looking at about $1,000 a piece for a new body armor. It's a better program. You don't have to worry about off-cycling. So if we start a vest, the officer, we buy you a vest, 2 years later, you retire, we give that vest to someone else. 3 years from now, now we know they're good for 5. Buy a new vest, that one gets used for other purposes.
Okay. All right. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, everybody else good? I'll take silence as a yes. All right, Chief, we appreciate what
Thank
you
you,
do. We appreciate your
Chief.
I'll be sign waiting for the officer replacement.
I'll be calling tomorrow about this.
Careful what you say, you're gonna get on the long list tomorrow morning.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
And if you could send us any information on what you post for cross guards.
Okay, yes. I'll send you a copy of the ad we put out there and how we've been trying to push it, but yeah, we'll take, I say we can take anybody.
My primary department is,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
it would be page 21. I see, I oversee a lot of smaller areas as well.
All right, so as we get started on that, I have a hard stop at 8:45. So take as long as you want, but we need to be done by then.
What is that?
So, an hour and 5 minutes.
You got it.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah.
But almost now. A long day.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well, we
kidding.
know John.
Maybe take all the time.
We know John.
That's true.
I'll just start off just by saying, in terms of, the major changes in our department, it's really on the revenue side. I mean, you'll see some numbers as you're going through the variance report. Staffing levels is the same. We've, moved some people around in terms of allocations of where they are. I've had some people leave, at least one person leave. So I've had to move people around. The number of staff is still the same. So you'll see some variance, maybe, regular pay between different departments, sub-departments that I manage, but the staffing is the same. And keep in mind that the regular pay, a lot of the variances, because contractual increases from year over year, so.
Who is it that took Dan Cook?
Patrick Massa is our new admin counselor. And he's an employee who works for both myself and Ruth. And he's excellent. If I should.
No.
Yeah.
I see. So, all right, then I did 471 at service contract, it's up $11,000. And again, just explain what that is.
Which one is this?
471 and 1315. 471 service contracts.
This is, one of the items here, we started a new initiative with ClearGov. We're working with ClearGov and uploading data, and our goal is to have budgetary data available on the website. More interactive form, it's the product the county is using.
So is this computer software? Sorry?
Computer software, yeah.
And then you said most of the changes are on the revenue side, which I've seen, and then again, 1081, you probably explained this to me several times, but for the new ones, maybe others paying lieu of tax.
Those are pilot payments.
That's a
So those are, in some cases, they're known amounts, in other cases, they are estimates, but usually we hit it pretty close on those. I mean, obviously, the big number was the sales tax.
The mortgage sales tax.
The sales tax, we developed that number a few months ago. Just to give you an idea of where we're standing now for 2022, we're projecting, now this is just using, the current year data, for this year, between 18.7 and 19.1 for sales tax. So, this number falls, in the middle of that, maybe a little towards the high side. So.
You said 18.7?
Yeah, for 2022, right? So as of right now, the city of Kingston is 7.16% over our 2021 sales tax collections. In our modeling that we do, we projected a low estimate of 18.7 and a high estimate of 19.1 for 2022 sales tax collections. So then, pushing that out to next year, 18,955 is our 2023 recommended number. It's in line with what we expect this year. So if my estimates for this year hold true, we would need to hold basically flat for next year to meet budget.
Okay, I see what you're talking. I was, for some reason, I had my eyes on mortgage tax. That's what I was looking at.
Mortgage tax, that's another big jump. We've been able to receive some data from the county, obviously. You've seen what's happened in the mortgage market. We expect this year, we could approach $1 million in mortgage tax. trying to hedge a little bit on next year with the market uncertain. So the A75 is actually close to what we brought in for 2021. 2022 will be stronger, but trying to be a little conservative next year. So we bumped that number to A75.
So I just want to go back because I was, again, so for line item 1110, the sales and use tax.
Yes.
Right now, currently 2022, we're at 18.7.
We're on pace for 18.7
All right.
to 19.1. So if and I'll break it down. So if our sales tax receipts for the remainder of the year were zero increase over prior year, just dead flat, we would end up at 18.7. If our year-to-date, year-over-year increase, as of right now, 7.16% over 2021 levels, if that continued, we'd be at 19.1. So, yeah, if you can expect that the number will be somewhere between those two figures, the 18.9 is, right in that sweet spot. So, probably on the upper side of what I'm comfortable with. It's a little bit high, but I think it's supportable, but it's certainly on the higher side.
That's some of the questions I have.
Let's see.
Steve? Now I'm just calling around there.
Ask your question.
Anybody out there in TV land?
I can make some general comments if there are no specific comments. Contingency, obviously that number's a lot lower. It's on the second page. It's A1 1990 14.54 miscellaneous. It's about halfway down the second page. We have less outstanding this year in terms of typically the largest number that's usually in the contingency is outstanding union contracts. As of right now, there's just one.
Where would that be on this book?
That would be,
I know some of the stuff are usually.
all right, so we want to do the content, but page 50.
Miscellaneous, okay.
So, we try to put placeholders in for, what we may expect to pay out. Obviously, you could choose for other things during the year, as you know. But, I think it's reasonable to bring out us for this year.
What is that right now?
23. As of right now? Well, it wouldn't include what will be adopted at the December meeting. I can tell you what we have right now. 337 was. There's been drawing, yeah, but there's been draws against that from this last finance meeting.
Yeah, no, that's finance meeting, regular finance meeting. Now, so then what other departments we got?
Basically, it's if I go through from page 1, it's parking violations is the 1130 accounts. Then looking at the 1315 account, I'm working off your variance sheet. The org that are A1130 is parking violations. I go through with it in the budget. So.
So you mean like going out a bit?
Which one?
Parking violations?
Yeah, we're seeing that activity, consumer behaviors going back to pre-COVID type activity. So while that revenue line looks like it's a bump,
Plus 20.
it's in line with where we were before COVID. National cases lower the park violation. So
Yeah,
Department of
street parking.
yeah, so I have the 1130, which is on page 17.
Page 17.
Page 17, park violations.
Yeah, and I had a lot of questions in the previous, what was the year-to-date table for the parking violations?
Sure. Year to date. cumulatively, including some of the, it's in 3 different revenue accounts, it's over 435 right now. But that's, if you look on the bottom of page 17, that's the combination of those 3. So we're already over the 2022 budget right now.
The only thing on that page was 412, data processing support, is that like software updating software is like up 17?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole host of things, but the main item there is a third-party vendor that we use, was Comptroller, now it's Passport. They provide us the handheld devices, they provide us the backend software to linking to the DMV systems throughout the country.
Okay.
They do all of our noticing, all, it's really, the brains, the parking system. But yeah, so then what they get is they get a percentage of each day. Yeah.
What, sorry, John, back to the parking violations, what is 1291 violation surcharge?
That is essentially the surcharge that gets added after a ticket's been outstanding for a number of days.
Okay.
And we're at 435 right now, right? We rejected, had projected, the budget was 372.
Right. Yeah, so we're over there.
Already
And
should
that supports, we have a number in here for next year, right, of 415 and the 6 so.
What page will we go to next?
So 1315 is my main department, page 21. That was the first one we started.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where a lot of, in terms of the revenue, a lot of that's really citywide type revenue. I mean, it's listed under my department, because we're the department that collects it, projects, in some cases bills for it. But a lot of that's really citywide type revenue. So the main pickup there is the mortgage tax and sales tax. Everything else that we projected was based on trending. We looked at gross receipts tax, and that's picking up, obviously, utility rates going up. Interest and earnings is up significantly, our investment income based on the market, right? So that 310 at this level is probably conservative. Looks like it'll, if the interest rates stay at the level we're at now, would easily meet that target. So after that, you would have go to auditor, which is on page 23. That's just our contractual audit fee. We did that out a number of years ago, Mark paid it. So we have our audit contract for another 2 years. Page 24 for the budget is tax collection. Our property tax operations.
Really hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. We have some different staffing, but it's all, we haven't really changed our operational out there. It works well. Then you get purchasing, which would be on page 27.
Really looks like that really hasn't changed neither.
That hasn't changed a lot. Page tax advertisements on page 31. We talked about contingency. The next larger area would be page.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened. It says we're still recording. We just lost our host.
Just lost Lisa. Got it.
Okay, sorry, do you want to pause it, Brittany, or do you want to? It says it's recording.
Just recording mine.
I'm just gonna shoot our text.
Is everything okay with the little block?
I mean, normally we would see it if we were there. If,
Yeah.
It was, that's how it was.
We were-
yeah, I changed the view.
View again. Go back to, is there a view?
Yeah, I mean, this is the,
But
this
there's
is the
just,
same.
it's just us
full
on the
screen.
caller.
Yeah, but is it on gallery, the view?
Y'all are almost lifestyles.
Maybe we're supposed to be back on gallery.
You know what, that chair right there does not look good. That is not a good look for the city.
Definitely need some.
Looks like we have a brawl in here, so.
We're gonna have that so much.
Okay, she can see us.
Okay,
So, and it says it's recording, so I just didn't want to continue. We're probably not have much longer, but,
No.
okay.
Tax advertising, this is really
Oh.
insane.
yep, yeah, tax advertising.
Oh,
And some of these are just because they are the
all right,
official
I will,
department that we have to use for the state controller reporting, so we use.
oh, as long as it's recorded, just let me know if anything changes. No, it's, can't help it. All right, thank you, bye.
So,
All right, Michelle just also said YouTube is still live. All right, so we're good.
page 51 would be on-street parking. This is essentially the on-street parking operations. Sure, 51. This is, meters.
Can you give me the year-to-date figure for that, please?
We are at 343.
343,000.
Yes.
All right.
That is through,
September?
The car's getting older, John?
that's through October, at least most of October, I was in all October first. So, we'll come close to the 375 this year. We should be right in
All
The car is getting to end of year, it says vehicle maintenance has gone up quite.
Vehicle maintenance has gone up. We're seeing some additional costs there. That ties into the capital plan. I have a request for a new parking vehicle on there, new energy efficient, parking vehicle. Right now, we have 3 employees who drive. So we do have a 2019 Mitsubishi Eclipse. We have a 2018 Ford F-150, but after that, the next newest car is 2009. So we have, a number of older cars that are really at end of life. Ultimately, what we do is we replace, we have let's look at what year this is. We have a 2007 Jeep Grand Cherokee, would probably be the one that would go out of service and we'd sell the replacement of this car. That was probably been past its life for 5 or 6 years, but
Where are you at on this? I don't see you. Trying to see it.
it's on the capital plan.
Is that
okay,
the-
okay.
It doesn't
Yeah.
say, is that the
City
city
Hall.
hall?
City Hall, it's parking SUV, but
Is that gonna be
Oh.
just for your department? Or is
Yes.
that gonna be one of the shared?
that would be for my office, for my department. And it would be parked over at Parks and Rec. They have installed plugs over there. But it would be exclusively for our office.
Why over there and not here?
We have our parking offices, for violations. They,
Also there.
they're in the back of where City Bus used to be.
All right.
We're out there.
Okay.
So we have to build the plug-in?
No, it's relatively inexpensive. They just have to put an outlet in. I'm not completely up to speed on what it is, but I'm told it's relatively cheap, a couple $1,000, if that. So, I talked to Steve about it. That was his suggestion that we could just retrofit something over there to plug in for these vehicles. Because we have one right now. We have the Mitsubishi, and this would be the second electric vehicle that we would have. And then outside of that, we have the Ford F-150. Our backup would then be an older 2008 Ford F-150.
So the oldest vehicle you say you're gonna get rid of, sell?
Well, right now, we're in the process of selling a 2005 old hand-me-down Ford Crown Vic from the police department. We've held on to that because some of our other vehicles are unreliable, so that has 129,000 miles on it. We're selling that now. When we get the new vehicle, we would then sell the Jeep Grand Cherokee from 2007. So that vehicle is now 15 years old. The 2008 Ford F-150 that's in everyday use now will become our backup. And then what we would have is the 2018 Ford F-150, 2019 Mitsubishi, and then whatever this vehicle is. So at least then all of our vehicles would be within about 5 years old. And then, they should be good for a little while. For years, we were using and have used a hand-me-down from the police department. And they're not always most reliable vehicles. They get beat up, they're on patrol, and they get passed down to to the division, and then we eventually get them, and they're already way past viable life when we get them, and we milk them for whatever life we can out of them, but we're finally now past that, hopefully, with the vehicle we're gonna sell this year. And then after you get past on-street parking, we are at off-street parking, which is page 57. That's our lots. We are doing some new things to the lots this year with our upgrade to our parking system. Our parking permits will be digital. We'll no longer have to display them, and the user will be able to link up to 2 cars to their permit. So they'll no longer have to display a permit in their window.
Can you tell me what the figure is right now? Is that
Sure.
year to date?
Yeah, and this is a tricky one in that typically the largest sales of these permits are at the very beginning of the year and also at the very end of the year. So right now we're at $78,000. However, if you look back at last year,
Action 2020.
yeah, like if I look back and see the revenue from last year at the end of the year. So last year in November, that's through October, the number I gave you. Last year in November, December, we sold almost $26,000 permits because they're buying for the following year. So, if that held true, we would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 this year, 103,000. So, it's that revenue line is pretty consistent year over year. All right. Then after that, you get into more of the benefit account starting with the 9s, unemployment, retirement, medical. And then you get into on the last page of the variance report, you start getting into debt service. We do have if you look at the variance report, you'll see this installment purchase principal and interest accounts. There's a few of those. We have an energy and efficiency project that was a 15-year lease. This was the last year of the payment, so you'll see a drop off there. But overall, when you add up the debt service payments in both funds, and you compare it year over year, it's pretty consistent. Our short-term debt payment's lower, our long-term debt's higher. We rolled from short-term to long-term more in a year. So, they're able to manage that. I'm here as long as you need.
I don't know.
Feels like.
I have one question. I mean, those kind of that you banned ones, they're.
And if you think of anything,
Control.
that we encourage today, not to get already,
Yeah, the transfer debt service and that stuff is not really, we get that control.
Yeah, I mean, the transfer to debt service is, so, just so that you understand what that number is, that's literally those are the bond payments that are new on amounts. There's no estimates there. Those are payments on long-term debt. It's already been bonded, deal's already done, steel delivered there. The bond anticipation notes is typically estimates on what we think we'll need to pay. In some cases, there are no amounts to the interest because we enter into the short-term notes on August of each year. So we did a short-term note this August. We know what the interest payment will be on that when it comes due because it's at a stated rate. The principal sometimes we can work with, but we always put in at least a minimum they'll have to pay on it, if not more. So, and obviously when we have available cash, we can pay any more.
All right, good. Thank you, everybody. We'll call this meeting to a close, adjourned at 8:02. And our next one is